like do something where we go over old notes? Oh, hello,
That's
YouTube
true. Hi, YouTube. Surprise, Manil, we're live. Yep. Uh,
um, yeah, sometimes it might be worth doing that. Maybe every month, once a month, or once every 2 months, we recap by doing, hey, what happened in 5 minutes over the last 2 months? Could be
yeah.
useful.
So, hey, Manil, great idea. Lightning round. Recap over the last. Let's do 1 month.
1 month. Okay. First things first, because I promised the Summit folks that I would say this at every meeting I was a part of. Y'all need to submit your travel fund requests if you're using it or register for the conference. Sorry, Summit. That's interchangeable. The Collaborator Summit is happening in less than 3 weeks. And we will all be meeting in Berlin. So please register. If you need the link, it is. Would anyone have the link handy? Else I know where to go get it. I'm looking right
I
now.
don't have it handy now.
I am dropping it here. 152 in Summit, in the Summit repo. If anyone's on YouTube and is a collaborator, please look inside the Summit repo of Node.js, and issue 152 has the link. It's pinned to the top. That's my first update. Anyone else want to go first? Next.
I don't personally have updates other than my time off went very, very well the last week and a half, and I enjoyed it.
That's very awesome. It's important to take time off. Did you also take time off from work?
Yes, yeah. I was actually not working for a while, and it made me very, very happy.
Yeah, that's super important. There's a thing in open source where folks think that, well, because most people aren't paid for open source, they do it on their off time. So like people will take vacations from their regular jobs and then actually be like, oh, I'm very active in open source now, but not take an actual vacation. Please take vacations. That's your public service announcement from Website Redesign.
We have an update from Oscar, who couldn't make the meeting today, but has a few things started on the design front. He dropped a comment in the issue ticket, which is 166 over on Website Redesign. He dropped a link to a Figma board where he's going to be continuing to iterate on lower level design systemsy stuff as he keeps working on mocks for all this. He has a few questions, one of which is a very fun and exciting one. Node needs a design system name because we're going to actually have a design system, and everybody knows that a design system is only as good as the name you give it. So that's obviously what's important. But no, it would be awesome to have a name. I have no idea what to call it.
I propose HexKit.
HexKit, kind of like it. I will take notes on that. HexKit. There we go. And I had a few questions. I answered some down below. Few was asking dark mode ? And I at least said, yeah, makes sense. It's gonna be a lot of reading on this site. Everyone's doing dark mode. Helps with the eyes. Let's do it while we can. And he has this survey thrown up. He doesn't want it, the responses coming in on his Google account. So I'm gonna port it over and we'll get this thing sent out on social as like a, hey, what do you think website should be? Give us more info on who you are and what you want. And then I threw the URL for where you can find logos at him. So yeah, he's trucking along. And now that he's finally able to shift focus over to execution on Node stuff, I'm psyched to see this stuff keep rolling out and watching that Figma board evolve. Yep, that's his update. So we have a pretty short agenda for today with, I think, one really meaty task. The other update, issue number 76 in website redesign. This is creating, related to I18N module and consuming translated docs. We have a breakout meeting set up because Zeke and Ben got a doodle out. believe that's tracked in issue number 4, linked in the ticket. We should publicize the time of that meeting here because it's not listed even though we sent out a meeting invite. I believe it's for next week. Do you remember what day?
Wednesday, the 15th.
Cool.
Time will depend based on which time zone you're in. It seems like based on the doodle, which only had a few responses, that time was selected. It's 7:30 Pacific to 8:30 Pacific.
Awesome. I will add an action item for me to make a ad hoc event ticket for that. Announcements to do, Adam, make ad hoc event ticket. Cool. Nifty. I think that's all the announcements we got. Let's Munil, as I think as nice as recap would go or would be, just going over meeting notes. I think I'd rather go through the agenda and see what see where conversation takes us. May roll back into just recap by the end, but I added a couple extra tickets just for up leveling. First thing on the agenda here is 179 in Node.js dev. I just wanted to check on status here, and Owner, I'm very glad you're on the call. I'd love to see this thing land ESLint and Prettier integration. What's the status on this, and can we help unblock anything?
Well, the problem was mostly that I just couldn't get around to finish it. Mm-hmm. Well, there's quite a bit code that needs to be rewritten. Mm-hmm. And I think I won't make it until the summit. So, well, I mean, the config is kind of stable, and I also start working that. Yeah, well, I think it's about.
So right now it's just code changes is the problem. The integration works fine. We just got to update code to, okay. I may have a little bit of time this weekend to pull this down and start just making the syntax changes. So I might be able to pick that up and help you out, get this across the line.
That will be lovely because that stressed me a lot. I mean, this ticket is open already over a month, and I know it's not nice, but I just couldn't get on.
Yeah. Oh no, it's totally fine. Upgrading stuff to lint integrations is a pain. So I'll see. I'll add this to my to-do list for this weekend, and I'll see if I can't get an update in. It's been a long time since I've had a code contribution, so I think I owe the repo a little bit of TLC. So I'll take that up. Cool. There was an open question in 250 I wanted to make sure we got answered or at least documented. Node.js.dev/250. Just kind of a question on GCB run. I'm actually a little shaky on this too, like what permissions somebody needs to actually run that command, and at least documenting this would be helpful. It looks like it does still work because we've had contributors run it on subsequent pull requests since that was opened, I think. Is that correct? I don't know if that's actually correct. But is anybody on the call aware of the status of this, or like the finer details of who's allowed to actually run it? Silence as a no idea. Miles is the one who set this up is also an acceptable answer. So.
I think the thing that caused a bit confusion is that that Kevin tried to send that command as he landed in the Redesign repository as contributor, but I guess he wasn't in the foundation group. I mean, in the Node.js group in GitHub. So that's why he didn't have the permission, I guess.
Okay,
it should work actually.
Should work, yeah. I'm looking to see if there was any run in the last 9 days. Yeah, Miles did it 7 days ago on another project here. So it does still work. I think we just need some clarification around who's able to run it. And it sounds like anybody in the group is able to. I'll confirm with Miles. But we'll add some docs around who is and isn't able to run that command. And I believe Miles still is planning on making this automatic, thrown into GitHook, make this thing automatic. I'll ping him privately as to status on that. Let's see. To do. So many to-dos. Here we go. Add him to ping Miles on GitHook status. Write docs on who can run. Cool. Awesome. Those are kind of the 2 tickets that I was looking through the backlog. Wasn't sure what status was on. If anybody else has open questions before we dig into slightly meatier stuff, feel free to chime in now. Yeah, are there any other open issues that just kind of need a quick sync to unblock? I think that is a no. Nifty. So we have just 2 other smaller things, well, 2 other meaty things in the agenda, one of which I kind of want to save for the breakout session. 78, considering that localized docs, we have a dedicated one for that. But I'd love to brainstorm a bit around issue number 158, since we still have a half hour in this meeting. And maybe the 3 of us can come up with an approach moving forward. Get someone started on it at least. This is creating a data contract or creating some type of interaction model between this website and the API documentation. There's a number of moving parts here. It's been proposed that this needs a spin-out session in and of itself. But I think we have time in these meetings to hash through it. It might be too small of a group to actually get to drive to a resolution now, but
what would we start thinking about first if we were to begin tackling this now?
So we have, these are the pages we're talking about here. We need, I think, a little more context. At least I know I need more context around where and how these are actually built. I mean, these are generated from Markdown in Node.js core, right? Like in the Node core repo. Mm-hmm. So I'm tracking it down. They're Node.js node. That's the name. So there is this doc folder, doc/API in Node core or Node.js node. And these pages, whenever there's a build of Node that goes out, these pages are generated just from those Markdown files in umpteen million ways. So there's a JSON dump representation of every source file. There's single pages for every source file, and then the menu is obviously generated. And then there's that view on single page option, which is just a giant concatenated version of all the docs. So ideally, our API documentation page is something a bit more interactive and a bit nicer to work with, I think that's a long way off because that will require a significant documentation effort in Node Core. But we should be able to do something with these API files now. There's a lot of weirdness once you start thinking about bringing up historical API documentation. You know, how do we generate all that? Where are these things hosted? Do we need to kick off a build of the entire website because we're an SPA in order to get an API documentation update? Or are we pulling from some other external data source? Or are these still statically built HTML files at the end of the day? We're just doing, you know, we're retheming it essentially. So it feels like a seamless integration with the website. Or are we publishing to a JSON package, which we statically host somewhere and pull in and render dynamically on our website? So, you know, it's not Node.dev that is actually hosting the static assets, but some service that has API docs as JSON that we just hit up. Or so there's some design work around how we interface with this and how we hook in with the build here. What's nice is this will only really work while we're deployed on Node.js.dev. You know, if and when we switch over, there'll have to be more talk. But we do have that. Does that actually work here? There's this magic file, which is literally all the API docs as a giant JSON blob. I believe it's huge, and we can do it better. But as of right now, we already have artifacts published. I'm literally just thinking this as I go, since I was not really aware of this until I looked at the page. But we already have JSON artifacts published at every version hosted on Node.js.org. So we could technically just make a sideways call and render it on the Gatsby site as we want. Might not be the worst way to do it right now.
Yeah, it'll get something showing.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if so Node.js.org, how did they go about pulling in the documentation? That is an option?
So this is something we'd have to talk to, I believe, the build folks about. So it's part of, let's see if I remember this microsite. As far as I'm aware, it's a part of the CI build, question mark. This is where it might be nice to have like someone who specializes in the build side of things come in and give us a little tech talk on this. But I believe when, let's take a look at Node.js daily on master. What tasks do they have running here? For those on the YouTube stream, or might be listening in or something, we're looking at the ci.nodejs.org dashboard, where a bunch of the Node CI tooling runs. I would not be surprised if building the API docs were part of this this run. It's probably also just an artifact generated from building core. Other option is it's in nodejs.org's repo, and it publishes somewhere. But I'm looking in there now too. Helpers load versions. I don't see anything about API docs in nodejs.org's repo. Just a quick look at package JSON. Are they depending on? Yeah, they're not even depending on. Okay, So because, again, I want confirmation on this from somebody who's more familiar with the site, but because Node.js.org, their repo is not even depending on Node Core or like an artifact from Node Core, my hunch would be that this is getting built and deployed to the same URL, but in a different folder. So like my guess would be all the API docs would be part of the CI build dumped onto the Node.js.org server in a static location, and it's just part of CI as it gets built out. But don't take my word on that. So it might be, if that is the case, it might be safe for us to integrate with those JSON dumps of the API docs and consider that here we go. So you can actually get to a file explorer on the on here, which is interesting.
Yes.
Oh, fun! They have like a links manifest in there. Yeah, so we might just be able to treat this as an API and not bother build with any requests for changes, and strictly focus on kind of the front end rendering and experience. Theoretically, it's a different mechanism. We're hitting this up as though it's a API for API docs. Might not be bad. I really wish that the doc folder in Node Core had a README file. That would be nice.
Open an issue?
Yeah, I might. I'm sure it's just buried somewhere that I'm not aware of.
Cool.
Yeah, I think probably for a first pass on this, that's probably the right approach to take, is just treat it like an API and hit it up. I'll capture that as a proposal in the issue, and we'll go from there. There's
grab some of these links into our notes. So
awesome. Thank you. This is a nice first time contributor task too, because there's just static JSON sitting up on a server. It's pretty getting an API page that hits up that API, renders the thing onto the page, doesn't have to look pretty, but just dumps API docs onto the page as is an awesome getting started task. Or sorry, first time contributor task. Should be nice too. So we can capture that and have it on here. Have people pick it up as needed. Nifty. Where'd the issue ticket go? There it is. Cool. Well, that's that exhausts the agenda for today too, which is nice. Anything else either of you wanted to bring up on the live stream or in this meeting? Cool. Well, then we'll call that the website redesign meeting. Small but powerful team today.
we made progress. We know where to start for that one. So
exactly. I'm very excited to get the next page started for this. We've been looking at the learn page for a long time, and I want to get the next section going, even if it's just getting the data flowing for it. So
totally.
Cool. Well, with that, I'll cut the YouTube stream, and
bye, folks.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
Bye.